The holidays are a time for feasting, at least for most people in our community. But as most of us enjoy a comfortable meal with family, there are many people in our region who don't know where their next meal will come from. So what is being done to help our neighbors and raise awareness about hunger issues? We'll discuss this and more today. Hello and welcome to Living United, a show about how our community can be the change for those most in need. I'm Ann McNeil, United Way volunteer and manager of corporate citizenship for IBM. Today I'm joined by two individuals with United Way in helping our community. My studio guests are Patti West, executive director of Fifth Street Ministries, and Matt Tarney, council member for United Way's Young Leaders. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here today, especially in this busy time of year, Patti, as we were talking about before the show. You're busy all year, but especially busy this time of year. Before we get deep into the conversation, because we've got some exciting things to talk about, if you could both tell me a little bit about yourselves and the work that you do. And Patti, if we could start with you, please.
Okay. I am the executive director of an organization that does business as Fifth Street Ministries. Our corporate name is Diakonos. Diakonos is a Greek word that means to serve. It's the word that deacon is taken from.
Oh, okay.
And we provide a variety of services, including shelter for the homeless. We have a soup kitchen, a shelter for women and children who are fleeing situations of abuse or sexual assault, a homeless outreach program for the severely and chronically mentally ill. Just a variety of ways that we reach out to people.
And where are you guys located?
We're located in Iredell County, specifically in Statesville.
Okay, great. Yeah, I wanted to mention that because we serve 5 counties, so
Yes.
it was important that we say where you are.
Yes.
Matt, what about you? What's your role here today?
Well, I'm here as a council member with the United Way Young Leaders. United Way Young Leaders is a group of young professionals in the Charlotte metro area, 40 and under, who are working with the United Way as an affiliated organization to work with organizations in our community. We do outreach, awareness campaigns, community service projects, and I think we differ from other young professional organizations in Charlotte in that we really have an opportunity to give back to the community in a tangible way and provide those experiences for our volunteers.
Excellent. And all of this is volunteer work that you guys do, right?
It is.
Good deal. So, Matt, in your role, with the Young Leaders, tell me a little bit more about that and talk a little bit about the Young Leaders organization, because it's fairly new.
It is.
And then also specifically talk about how you're set up, because we may have folks watching today that want to get engaged in the organization.
Absolutely. Young Leaders is as I mentioned, a young professional organization, so 40 and under. And our main role, I guess, is to reach out to young professionals in the community and engage them in community improvement, community involvement. My role as a council member is to help organize those events. So I sit on a committee called the Serve Committee, and my role is to actually organize the service projects.
Oh, wow.
So I reach out to our partner organizations, United Way partner agencies.
Right.
And I work with their contacts to find out what their needs are. How can the young leaders best serve the needs of our community through the eyes of the people who are on the front lines helping meet those needs every day?
Okay, and so how many folks do you have that are involved?
We have about 240 active volunteers.
Yep.
We have a mailing list that goes out to about 900 people in the Charlotte area. And we're constantly looking to reach out. There's actually a United Way Young Leaders that recently started up in Lake Norman area.
Oh, great.
So we're trying to serve that community as well.
Excellent. Okay, good. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the work that you guys have been doing. So Patti, tell me, you bring a different perspective to today's conversation. In a few minutes, Matt's going to talk about some of the work they're doing around hunger. But if you can talk a little bit to our viewing audience about what the needs are in our community, what's going on right now, and what you see every day.
I've been doing this for 24 years, and what we see today as far as hunger is pretty overwhelming. I see people needing food, needing assistance with food that never would have thought that would have happened to them.
Right.
There are issues with the food stamp program. The food stamps have been months and months behind. And that's while food stamps were never intended to pay for 100%.
They're supplemental.
They're
right.
supplemental, but a lot of families have to use them because they don't have any other way to provide food for their families. So our numbers in our soup kitchen have gone up tremendously. Typically we have served about 80 people the evening meal. It's not uncommon for us to serve 150 people.
And do you do one meal a day?
We do 3 meals a day.
Oh, wow.
Breakfast is for our shelter guests only, but
Right.
lunch and supper is open to anybody that needs a meal. And so, for all of our meals, all of our services, we have seen the numbers go up because the need is so high, especially among families.
Right, yeah. And you were talking a little bit about that. I think another organization in the video we're going to see in a little while was talking about, just how they're seeing many more young people in this
Yes.
process.
Yes.
And Matt, you guys, as you look out for these different projects, you were challenged this year with a specific project around hunger, and if you can talk a little bit about that, and also how you chose the different projects that you all did, because you said a few minutes ago that you work on these projects, but I can imagine you're all young professionals, you're very busy, so how do you fit this into your time? And then we'll go back to Patti to talk a little bit about how you all also use volunteers in your organization.
Sure. Well, our hunger-based project this year, and this is actually the 5th year that we've done it, is the Week to Fight Hunger. And we've done this the first week in November. What we like to do is a 2-part campaign. One is an awareness campaign about hunger in our community, and the other is a service campaign. So we choose partner agencies throughout Charlotte to do a service project with every single day throughout that week, that first week in November. And we look for agencies that are helping people with hunger in the community. So we focus our projects around those agencies. Obviously, United Way agencies span a wide range of needs in the community.
Yeah.
But we try to tailor our events during this week to dealing with hunger issues. So we deal with people like the men's shelter. We help prepare meals for Dove's Nest, which
Yeah, I
is
was
a
going to say,
women's
give
recovery
me some of the
center, yeah.
organizations that you work with.
We had volunteers handing out muffins and juice for people waiting in line at Crisis Assistance Ministries.
Okay, and that can be quite a lengthy line.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And we also prepared snack packs for children in the community. So we do quite a few different things, and we really like to reach out to our agencies and say, what are your needs right now? How can we help? This is what we're doing, and we'd like to involve you in that process.
So did you guys feel like you had a big impact? Was it a success?
I think
what
we
was the
did.
feedback you got from the folks who were involved?
Overwhelmingly, this was our most successful year so far.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
I attribute a lot of that to you because you have to go out there and you have to figure out what the projects are, but I'm sure you do some of that recruiting as well.
It was absolutely a team effort, but,
Yeah.
but yes. We had over 80 volunteers come out this year.
It's great.
Throughout that 1 week, perform over 165 hours of community service. And based on the feedback we got from our agencies, we think we reached about 1,000 people in the
Wow.
community.
Yeah.
So I like to think that these events have a very tangible and meaningful impact.
Would you say more people are aware of the issue now? I mean, obviously the folks, you've got your 100, or how many did you say, 80 people who
80
worked on it?
people, that's right.
But the goal, I would imagine, is those 80 people then go back and talk about this issue with all of their friends. And so what kind of an impact do you feel like that you guys made through this?
I think that was our biggest improvement this year,
Yeah.
was in our outreach and our awareness. We had several different things going on. First, we had a great social media team on the council who really pushed our social media this year.
Interesting.
We had a Twitter feed for the Hunger Challenge. We had a Facebook feed for the Hunger Challenge. And during the week of Week to Fight Hunger, our Facebook traffic increased 455%.
Wow.
Yeah, and most of that was around the Week to Fight Hunger. So
Because again, you're tweeting to your friends who are all young professionals, so that's the audience that's using,
again,
all of the social media, right?
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
one of our biggest tools for engagement was something that we did called the Hunger Challenge.
Right.
We asked people in the community, and we ourselves did the same, to live on a SNAP budget,
Right.
which is Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, which in North Carolina this year was $4 a day per
Oh my
person.
gosh, you're right, yeah.
So you and your family were challenged to live on $4 a day, to put yourself in the shoes of the people that we are out there helping. As Patti mentioned, all it takes is one emergency,
Yeah.
one unexpected bill, and many people would be in that situation, in a homelessness situation, or in a situation where you have to choose between paying your rent or buying
Or
food
heat,
for your family.
right? We're now
Exactly.
getting into the months where, we've had a few months where maybe you didn't have the air or heat going, and we're now getting into where that bill's coming back, maybe that you didn't have.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
as a council and as a community, we shared that experience via social media, and I think that really contributed
Right.
to
Yeah.
that uptick in traffic that we saw.
Excellent. Okay. Patti, we're going to talk in a minute, but I'd like to get your perspective on this. But first, we're going to watch this video about another United Way agency serving the hungry.
Union County Community Shelter is a pretty busy little place. We are a full-service homeless shelter. That means that we allow folks to stay overnight in our overnight shelter. They can check in the evening and check out the next morning. And we also have dormitories here for folks who need a place to stay for a longer period of time while they're trying to stabilize their lives. Additionally, we have a full-service soup kitchen. We're open 365 days a year, and we serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. In the mid-'80s, the shelter opened its door on a very casual basis, primarily with help from the church community, the faith community. And at that time, we only had 5 or 10 men who might stay the night. But in 1994, the issues and the problems with homelessness in Union County became a little more intensive, particularly as our population grew in Union County. United Way was definitely with us during that way. They were part of the process the entire time. They were especially with us about 6 to 7 years ago as well, when we decided that there was a homeless family issue in Union County and we needed to develop a family program as well in addition to the overnight shelter. United Way is definitely a partner with us in all that we do, and we have a long history now here. We're actually going to be celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. Our soup kitchen at the community shelter is the busiest place in town, I think, sometimes. We serve about 125 meals a day. We serve a hot breakfast, hot lunch, and hot dinner every day. We are open to anyone in the community that has a food hardship. We do not have a means test here. We're really proud of that fact. If you're hungry, you're welcome to come into the shelter, into the soup kitchen, and have something to eat. We served 39,500 meals last year, and as you can see from our relatively small dining room and kitchen, that's a lot of work going on. At the soup kitchen, we strive not only to make sure people have enough to eat, but they are given healthy choices as well in the food that we present to them. It's very important because so many of the low-income and the impoverished are eating meals that are full of fats and carbohydrates and sugars and fast food. You know, recently we're all hearing about these government cuts with food stamps and with federal programs, and I'm here to tell you that it's impacting people in our community in just a drastic way. People are hungry. People are scared. So we see these folks every day and they struggle and they don't know what to do. They're starting to bring in their families. We have children in high chairs here at the soup kitchen. It's really sad to see that, and it's probably the last place that people want to be in that situation, but it's where more and more folks are turning to food pantries, soup kitchens, in order to supplement what little they have during the month. You know, I think for many of us, we do take having a full belly for granted. We can eat anytime we want to. But here at the community shelter, we see hunger in people's eyes.
Patti, we talked before we went to the break. Matt was telling us about living on the $4 a day, and I'm going to go back to him in a bit on that because I want to get his perspective on what that was like. But can you talk a little bit about how you can eat healthy on $4 a day, and can you? And you know, you're feeding people at the shelter, and how do you do that?
At the shelter, we rely heavily on donations.
Right, yeah.
Obviously, we get a lot of our food through the food bank,
Right.
Which is a great savings to what
Sure.
how it can be purchased in the grocery store. And then we have groups that do canned food drives for us, and we put the word out on Facebook or wherever that we're getting
Right.
low, and we usually get a pretty good response.
Right.
So we are able to provide meals at a pretty low cost at
Mm-hmm.
the shelter. When people move out is when the problem occurs.
Yes,
and when
exactly.
they do try to live on that $4 a day, because there's no way that you can eat a nutritionally balanced meal or have a nutritionally balanced diet on that amount of money.
Right.
And that it kind of creates a cycle that you don't eat healthy, your
You're not
immune
healthy.
system
Yeah, you get sick.
gets compromised, you get sick. How do you get health care? It's kind of a vicious cycle.
Right, right. Another piece of all of this is the the perception we saw in the video that from Union County. Talk a little bit about the perspective of the people insulated. They feel like they're insulated. Many of us insulated from the problem, but that perspective of we really are helping all kinds of folks that maybe 2-3 years ago you didn't see coming through your shelter.
There's absolutely the new face of homelessness, the new face of hunger, people that have never thought they would find themselves in that position ever. Today they are. And it's because of groups like what Matt's doing. We rely heavily on United Way, and just as an advocacy agency as well as funding. But it's so important for people to get involved in United Way, because it touches so many people within our community.
Well, and just like United Way, there are lots of organizations that we work with. Just within your organization, there's lots of different projects that you all work on.
Yes.
So if you can go in a little deeper, we've talked about you're serving the homeless. Talk about some of your other programs, your shelter, and some of the other things that you're doing.
We actually have several components to our shelter. We have our night shelter, which is an emergency shelter, and we can house people for 28 days. At the end of that 28 days, if they have an interest in really moving on and developing some skills and making some changes in their lives that hopefully will keep them from ever becoming homeless again, they move to our second stage.
Okay.
We move from that into transitional housing. And the length of stay is we don't have an end time. It depends on the person. It depends on their goals. It depends on how well they're reaching their goals. We have an educational component.
I was going to say you have a much support for them throughout this
We do,
process.
we do.
You were mentioning some of them actually work at the helping
in our
to
kitchen.
in your kitchen. Yeah.
Yes, they actually become paid staff. They start out as volunteers.
That's wonderful.
And they start, we find ways to keep them busy chopping onions or peppers or whatever comes in.
Right.
And they work their way into that program. Ideally, when they leave, they will have enough of a job history
Right.
and have learned some skills that they can get a job within the food industry that pays a living wage.
Right.
To be ServSafe certified and that kind of thing.
One of the other things that we talked about before we started the program was around the fact that you've got the folks that are coming and staying at your shelter and eating the food. And I was asking you just from the standpoint of, are there other shelters in the area? Like similar to in the Charlotte community, we've got, certainly during the winter, many of the churches open their doors and we have a room at the end and people stay in different, but you were saying you guys serve everyone.
We do. We serve all of Iredell County.
Yeah.
We're the only shelter within the Iredell County area. We also have our program called My Sister's House. It's our program for women and children fleeing domestic violence, family abuse. And domestic violence is a leading cause of homelessness among women and children. So we stay pretty full in that shelter as well, and we offer victim advocacy within the court system, counseling, group and individual counseling, peer support, a variety of ways that we help these folks get back on their feet and become productive members of our society.
How many individuals are you serving a year in different, I would
Oh,
imagine
man.
a large
just
number.
in shelter alone, close to 1,000.
Wow.
That doesn't, there's no way that we can keep
Yeah,
a count on how many people come in and out of the soup kitchen
Right,
and
sure.
utilize our other services, but I would have to estimate it would be over 2,000 people a year.
Right. And do you were talking about you get great support from the community. What are the types of things, if we have folks watching today, what are the types of needs that you may have? Do you utilize volunteers if there are folks who live in Iredell County that are watching the program? Do you have needs for specific things? What is it that you can use? the
We
shelter
do
needs?
utilize volunteers, and volunteers, I think, have a dual purpose. And they come and they provide a service for us, but then they also go back into their own communities and they tell other people about
Spread the
us
word,
and
the
spread
good
the
word,
word.
yeah.
They're our best advocates. So we usually, the best place to volunteer at Fifth Street is in the kitchen, because you really get to have that one-on-one
That's hard work. I was
connection.
talking to y'all about that. That is very hard work.
It is hard work, but you get to have that interaction with the folks coming through. And
Do they primarily do the serving?
they do the serving.
Yeah.
We have groups that do provide meals and bring the meals in to
Oh, okay,
serve,
yeah.
but typically we provide the meals in our soup kitchen.
And if we can't volunteer, if there are folks out there that can't volunteer but have the resources to maybe make some donations, what types of things are you looking for?
Oh, man. Well, it's Christmas, so obviously we're looking for Christmas gifts.
Okay.
For adults, especially for adults. Everybody wants to buy toys for the children.
Well,
and I
you
do
mentioned you
too,
do a
but-
Christmas dinner, and everyone
We
who
do.
attends gets a gift, correct?
Yes, we do a big Christmas dinner on Christmas Day, and sometimes we've had as many as 450 people show up. Our Thanksgiving meal this year was twice as big as it has ever been in the past. We served 300 people just at our Thanksgiving meal.
Wow.
So I'm a little apprehensive about what Christmas is going to be, but we'll make it happen. And we have tons of volunteers that come, and it's always just a really special time. One thing I want to mention, we moved into our new facility 5 years ago, right about now, and we built that building for $4.6 million. That was about the time the economy crashed.
Yeah.
And so obviously some people were not able to meet their pledges. We are $4,100 away from paying off that building, which is huge.
Oh my gosh! In 5 years, that is
5 years
amazing.
in
That's
a little
incredible.
place like Iredell County.
Yeah.
And that speaks to the kind of folks that we have in that community.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
that would be the best Christmas gift ever.
to pay
to
off
be
that
able
mortgage.
to have a
yeah.
note burning on that day.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
other than that, we always need food.
Okay.
We always need canned food items. We always need personal hygiene products. Anything that you use in your daily life, we need it times 150.
Wonderful. And you don't just need it during, it's a holiday season, so we're all hyper aware, and making donations in the communities because it is that time of year, especially with the children. We want to make sure that there's things for the children in need. But you need things all year round. This is
Yes.
not, I said, oh, well, things lighten up in January, and you said absolutely not. I mean, this is a year-round problem, a year-round issue.
And we also take used household items because we pass that on to people when they move into their own housing.
Oh, that's great to know.
So,
That's,
they don't have the money to go buy a couch or a mattress or
Right.
whatever. So we just pass those
So we would
items
just
on.
contact you. We'll be putting up websites during the
Yes.
program, but folks can just give you guys a call
Give
if
us
they
a
have
call or
something.
email
and-
us.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Good.
Great.
Matt, I want to get back to you talked about some of the things that you did during the week, and Kathy Braggs talked about the face of hunger. Can you talk a little bit about the impact that made on you, and maybe share some of the experiences the other volunteers had? What is it like to be in that position?
Absolutely. It's incredibly rewarding, first of all. So to anyone watching, I encourage you to volunteer. But it's also very humbling. The face of hunger, as Patty mentioned, is changing. It can be anyone. It may be someone that you or I know very easily.
Right.
So the biggest takeaway that I get from being able to go out and help people who are hungry is just a sense of gratitude that you get. It's a incredibly rewarding, incredibly uplifting to be able to satisfy that need and provide that service to someone and see the gratitude in their face. When I think about the face of hunger, it's not people who are hungry and suffering, because that's going to be there. That's always been
Right.
a part of what we want to do, is alleviate that. It's more the sense of gratitude when you're able to relieve that hunger for someone. So that's really my idea of the face of hunger is the faces of people who we're able to serve.
who've had that good meal and are going
Exactly.
to go to bed without their stomach grumbling.
Exactly.
Or they're going to do better in school because they've, got the energy to focus.
Yeah, hunger plays into so many other aspects of our society. It plays into education.
Right.
It plays into crime rates. It plays into poverty and a cycle of poverty. So I think addressing hunger is one of the best ways we can indirectly address all those issues as well.
Very well said. Very well said. Patti, we've got a couple of minutes left, and I wanted to end with talking a little. Next month's show, we're going to talk about collective impact, and obviously that's about agencies working together and agencies sharing resources, et cetera. Can you talk a little bit about? You've talked about all the support you get, but what are some of the other organizations you all work with, and how does that work for you all?
We work with a variety of organizations because there's no need for us to reinvent the wheel when somebody else is doing something and doing it well. We work especially closely with an agency called SCAN that is also a United Way agency. It's an acronym for Stop Child Abuse Now. And they go into the homes and work with families who there may not be child abuse, but the possibility is there, and they work to do parent education.
I was going to say the parents maybe just need
Yes,
education.
Yes, and they work with the families to help make the family unit stronger as a whole. We also work with Dove House, another United Way agency that is a child advocacy center for victims of sexual abuse. We provide counseling for some of those folks that don't have any kind of insurance or
Right.
any form of reimbursement. Our counselors provide those services. But we work with if you had a list of United Way agencies, I could tell you almost every one. The Red Cross refers people to us all the time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you where you get most of your referrals, and what kind of a backlog do you all have? If you're serving that many people, I would imagine the needs are always so great.
They are. The biggest backlog we have is for housing for families.
Yes.
Because that
That's
need
everywhere.
is so great.
Yeah.
Much greater today than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Much, much greater. We serve many, many more families and children now than we ever have. So that's our greatest need.
Yeah, okay. Well, I want to thank you both for being here today. This was a wonderful program to have this time of year, especially when we are, as we said earlier, feasting. Thank you for being my guest today, and thank you so much for the time you invest in serving our community. To our viewing audience, if you want to know more about how to live united in your community, please visit the website shown on your screen. And if you're a member of our viewing audience who needs help, please call 211 24 hours a day. Dialing 211 will connect you to a referral specialist who can help you find services such as food, housing, employment, and more. I'm Ann McNeil. Thank you for living united.
Take my hand and start a brand new day.